Dear students, good morning. Today we discuss what is cardiac cycle. All of you know that our heart continuously work and produce lub-dub sounds. These lub-dub sounds are known as heartbeat. This heartbeat is very important. It is very crucial to supply all the nutrients, gases, hormones, vitamins to all the parts of the body. So cardiac cycle is most important in human's life. The term cardiac refers to heart and cycle means the actions repeated continuously. So what is cardiac cycle? The sequential events those occur in the heart during one heartbeat is called cardiac cycle. So what is heartbeat? It's one contraction and relaxation of all the four chambers of the heart is called heartbeat. You know that we have four chambered heart. The two upper chambers of auricles and the lower chambers are called ventricles. All these auricles and ventricles continuously contract and relax due to the cardiac muscles by which the heart is made of. So what is systole? The contracting phase of the contraction of the heart chambers is called systole. The contraction of auricles is called auricular contraction and the contraction of ventricles is called ventricular systole. What is diastole? The relaxation phase or the relaxation of the heart chambers is called diastole. In the same way, ventricular diastole, auricular diastole. So what are the phases of the cardiac cycle? The heart continuously works since the 21st day of embryo up to the end of the life. So the heart never takes rest. For our study, for our convenience, we imagine that all the four chambers of the heart are in the phase of relaxation. So this phase is known as joint diastole. Relaxation of both auricles and ventricles. So in this phase, in this joint diastole phase, oxygenated blood from all the parts of the body reaches into the right auricle. The oxygenated blood from the inferior parts of the body is carried by inferior vena cava to the right atrium, and the blood from upper parts reaches through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. So the deoxygenated blood is collected by the heart through the caval veins. At the same time, the oxygenated blood from both the lungs, the right lung and left lung, reaches into left auricle through four pulmonary veins. So the collection of oxygenated blood from the lungs in the joint diastole, two processes occur. The first process is the collection of deoxygenated blood from the body, the collection of deoxygenated blood from the body parts, and the collection of oxygenated blood from the lungs in this phase. Next, the auricular systole begins. When the auricles are filled with blood due to the sinoarterial node function, the auricles begin to contract. During this phase, the deoxygenated blood from right auricle reaches into right ventricle through the tricuspid wall present in between right auricle and right ventricle. At the same time, the oxygenated blood from left auricle reaches into left ventricle through the bicuspid wall or mitral wall. This is mitral wall. This is popularly known as mitral wall. It has two cusps, so it is known as bicuspid wall. So this is tricuspid wall. It has three cusps. It is located between right atrium and right ventricle. So the oxygenated blood from right atrium reaches into right ventricle, and the oxygenated blood from left auricle reaches into left ventricle through mitral wall. When the ventricles are filled with blood, the ventricle systole begins. During this phase, the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle reaches into both the lungs through this pulmonary artery. Through this pulmonary artery, the deoxygenated blood reaches to the lungs from the right ventricle. At the same time, the oxygenated blood from left ventricle reaches into all the parts of the body through the aorta. So, this pulmonary artery and aorta, these two are arteries which have walls in them. The remaining arteries do not have any walls. So the blood, deoxygenated blood from right ventricle reaches to the lungs through the pulmonary semi-lunar wall, and the oxygenated blood from left ventricle pushes into the aorta through the aortic semi-lunar wall. From aorta, this oxygenated blood reaches to all the parts of the body. So, why do the heart produce loved up sounds? During the ventricular systole, the blood from both ventricles pushes into the lungs and body parts through the pulmonary artery and aorta. During this phase, the walls present between left atrium and left ventricle and right atrium and right ventricle are forcefully closed, leaving the sound up. So here we can find mitral wall. It is present between left ventricle and left atrium. When the left ventricle systole begins, the blood enters into the aorta due to the closure of this mitral wall, and also the deoxygenated blood from right ventricle enters into the lungs through the pulmonary semi-lunar wall due to the closure of tricuspid wall that is present between right atrium and right ventricle. Due to this sudden closure of mitral wall and tricuspid wall, a sharp sound is produced that is called lub. This is known as S1, sound 1. After that, the ventricles diastole begins. When the ventricles begin diastole, when the ventricles come to the normal position, The oxygenated blood from aorta and the deoxygenated blood from pulmonary artery begins backflow into the left ventricle and right ventricle respectively. To prevent the backflow of this blood, oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, the pulmonary semilunar wall and aortic semilunar wall closes. These two walls close and produce a weak sound, a dull sound that is called W. So, due to the contraction and relaxation of both the ventricles, the lub-dub sounds are produced. The lub sound is produced when the blood from ventricles reaches into the lungs and body parts due to the closure of mitral valve and tricuspid valve, and during the relaxation of these two chambers of ventricles, the backflow begins. To prevent the backflow, the pulmonary semilunar valve and aortic semilunar valve close. Due to this, the dub sound is produced. So it is continuously produced due to the circulation that occurs continuously throughout our life. So you know the structure and function of the heart of your own about the description of our human heart. Thank you.